Yo, what is going on, everybody? It is your boy Ogden. Welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be answering the question, how much should you spend on a longboard? So without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, so in this video we're going to be breaking down this question into kind of 4 categories. The first thing I'm going to talk about is what you should look for in your board. Then I'm going to give you recommendations on how much I think you guys should spend on a board. I'm going to talk about why I recommended that price point. We're going to go over recommendations for brands that fit this kind of price range. And then I'm going to go over brands that you should avoid at all costs. Before all that though, I just want to quick say happy holidays. Hopefully everybody had a great Christmas if you celebrate that or whatever you're doing. Yeah, let's get right into it though. Alright, what should you look for in a board? There's a couple things that I have written down that I think will be helpful for you guys. And to start off, it's going to be what the board is actually made of. I personally think you should look for a board that's either made of bamboo or maple, Canadian maple to be specific. Any other kind of materials, they're just not really up to standard for what I think you should be looking for as a beginner, because I think as a beginner, you should be looking for a board that should be able to perform well enough where you have fun riding. A lot of these really cheap kind of boards, they're just not fun to ride, and I feel like you kind of lose out on the experience that way. Look for one with bamboo or Canadian maple construction. Bamboo is really lightweight, but it's still really stable and sturdy, so it's a really good material to have, whereas Canadian maple, kind of similar, but it's a lot more rigid, so it makes the board a lot more snappy. So like if you're looking to get into dancing, I would look for Canadian maple because you can pop the board a lot better because it's more of a snappy kind of feel to the deck then. The next thing to look for is a board that comes with name brand components. So by this I mean the wheels, the trucks, the bearings. You want to get these kind of things from brands that are known to be well established in the industry. A lot of cheap boards and brands that I don't really like that much, they have components that are either nameless, like they're probably just, they come straight from a Chinese factory, or they're just not high quality brand, name brand kind of things. And you'd be surprised by the difference that can really make. Trust me on this, I've used a lot of boards. The name brand stuff is just better, hands down. And to go off of that, I really want to emphasize name brand bearings, because that is one of the most essential things to your board. Honestly, the bearings are one of the biggest problems with so many boards that are just subpar. If they had better bearings, it'd make the board so much better. As far as bearings go, there's 3 brands that I definitely trust currently. I haven't tried all of them, but I do want to say that Bones Red bearings, Landyachtz, Spaceball bearings, and Z-List bearings. Those are all really good brands. You can't go wrong with any of them. Make sure you have one of those brands in your board or another one that you really trust. So yeah, to recap, bamboo or maple, name brand components, good bearings to go along with that. With all that out of the way, what price range should you really be spending on your first longboard? And here's what I'm going to say. To get a decent longboard, you're going to be looking at spending anywhere from $175 to $300 and upwards. Obviously, as a beginner, I don't want you guys to go out and spend $300 on a board unless you really want to and you know it's going to be something you want, but I would at least look for something around $175 to $220. The reason I don't say go lower than this is it's because it's hard to find boards that have name brand quality components that perform well under this price. So if you want to go below that price, you can, but you may run into problems like the board being really slow, the board just feeling really bumpy, all kinds of things like that. So to continue off that, let's list a few more reasons why spending this money can help. It's going to make the board longer lasting. Having a bamboo board, Canadian maple board, or even bamboo with fiberglass is going to make the board last a really long time. All of my high quality decks have lasted years, like just really long time. My loaded Tien board I bought in 2015, I believe. So it's been like 5 years since that, almost 6. And it functions the same as it did when I bought it. And then a board that I got sent that was $90 is already chipping after like a month of being used. So definitely helps with the longevity of the board to spend a little more money. Another thing, the speed. Buying name brand components and quality stuff is just gonna make your board faster overall. And to go along with that, it's going to make your energy use a lot lower. So when your board's not fast, you're going to be pushing a lot more and you're going to get tired pretty fast. If your board is already really speedy and really fast, you're not going to have to push as much, which means you can go farther with less energy and you won't be as tired, or you can go farther in the same amount of tiredness that you would get without that, if that makes sense. Another thing, the ride will be smoother. I've used a lot of wheels, and a lot of the boards that are cheap that have the wheels, they're okay, but they're just not that great. When you get name brand, really good wheels on your board, it makes a whole difference. Everything is really smooth, and because of that, your board's gonna be moving faster and you won't have to push as much because it's gonna absorb a lot of the bumps on the road, so you're not gonna be slowing down by that, and you're gonna have a better experience overall. Lastly, the boards are generally lighter, especially the bamboo ones. Bamboo is a very light material, and it's going to be lighter because of that. A lot of the cheap boards, they're made of either bad maple or some other kind of wood, or they're like really thick and they're just heavy, clunky, and they're just not fun to carry around. So those are kind of like all the reasons that I find to be really the main reasons why you should spend somewhere in this price range, because you're going to get components of really good quality in that price range, and they're usually going to come with those features. And finally, we're going to get into the recommendation part. I have a few brands that I picked out that I think really fit this, and I'll tell you the price range of each brand. So starting off is going to be Landyachtz. A lot of you already know this brand. A lot of you found my channel because of this brand, but they're just a really good brand for getting into longboarding, into using cruisers, that kind of thing, for a relatively inexpensive price point. So the price range of Landyachtz longboards are usually around $180 to $300. $300 being the really top premium tier quality of their dancing boards, but if you're just looking for a cruiser or some kind of way to get around, or maybe something to do some freestyle, you can find a really good one from anywhere from $180 to $240. So highly recommend Landyachtz. They have really good bearings, really good wheels, their deck quality is high quality, and they last a really long time. Next brand, Loaded Longboards. I have a lot of Loaded Longboards in my house. They're very expensive, but they last years. Like literally you can buy a 10-year-old one on eBay and it still performs great. So if you buy one new though from their website, they're gonna run you around $300 and up. So it's a steep price. It is what I actually started with as a beginner. It was a upfront investment, but since I've had it for over 5 years and planning on having it for more than that, it really pays off if you consider the price you're paying per year to have that board. Really high quality bearings, high quality wheels, Paris longboard trucks. Paris trucks are great, so you're getting quality components and a great board. The third brand is one I haven't experienced personally, but I've heard a lot of great things about it, and that is Zenit longboards. They're another pretty premium class of boards like Loaded, prices ranging from $270 to $300. So I probably wouldn't recommend this for you as a beginner unless you had the cash to spend, but from what I've been told, they're really high quality boards, and all the parts and brands that are associated with it seem to be pretty good. Next, we're going to be talking about Rain longboards. Rain longboards are actually a little bit cheaper. They're on the cheaper side. They're made of Canadian maple, and you can go on their website and pick up a deck from around $100 to $140. Keep in mind that is the deck only though. It doesn't come with the components. You're gonna have to buy those separately. I'd recommend maybe like Paris trucks, orangutan wheels, Zealous bearings to go with that. Just throwing that off the top of my head. But they're really good boards. They make really good dancing boards and really good downhill boards. So if those are kind of the two things you're looking for, I would check out Rain longboards. Finally, I want to mention Moonshine MFG boards. These are also sort of expensive. They range from $250 to $300, but they're really cool boards. They have high quality components, and the decks are completely waterproof, so you can ride these in the rain and you'll be totally fine. Really cool. They make some really good dancing boards and some really good cruising boards, so definitely check them out if you haven't heard of them yet. Alright, really quickly guys, 4 brands you should not buy. I'm not recommending these brands, okay? Number 1, Sector 9. A lot of people in the comments talk about Sector 9 and how they have a Sector 9, but personally, from my experience having a Sector 9 board, they are a little underwhelming for what you pay for. The boards are usually around $200, $220, $190, but they feel more like a board in the $130 to $150 margin. They use Gullwing trucks, which is name brand, but I'm just not a big fan of Gullwing trucks. I personally wouldn't recommend Sector 9 boards. Secondly, any board that is sold mainly on Amazon. What do I mean by this? Well, there's a lot of brands out there, really small brands, that aren't really established on their own. They don't really have a good website. They don't have any presence really on the internet outside of Amazon. Do not buy those. Most of the time, they're people that are just getting boards and cheap parts from China, shipping them here and selling them and making profit off of you. Many times these boards on Amazon have like 5,000 reviews or more, really positive reviews, everyone's saying they like it. Do not trust this. They are fake reviews. Companies on Amazon pay for their reviews. You can't trust them. Third on the list is going to be Arbor. They're kind of the same as Sector 9. They're just like, they have really cool looking decks. I like the clear grip tape. It's kind of cool. But I feel like for what you're paying for, you're just not getting that same quality. And that's enough said with that. Finally on the list is Globe. Globe is kind of like Arbor and Sector 9, but I feel like kind of worse. Their boards are really expensive for what you're getting. I don't think they have good bearings. Their components just aren't, they're just not up to standard. Okay, so just don't get a Globe board for the most part. I think some of their cruisers are okay, but their longboards just don't, there's better options out there. And that is pretty much all that I have to talk about for today's video. Hopefully you learned something from this. Hopefully you take this knowledge and use it when deciding to purchase your first board, or maybe not your first board, maybe, you know, your intermediate, advanced, upgraded board, because these can all be used at a very high level as well. I just want to end by saying again, it really pays off in the long run to spend more upfront on a longboard. You're gonna have a lot more fun on the board than you would having a really cheap board. Anyways, that's all I got to talk about for today. I'm signing off. I'll see you guys on Wednesday for another video. Happy holidays. Peace out.